coverage you trust. This is NBC 10 News Sunrise.
2 civilian naval officers were injured last night after a man with a knife confronted one of them at the naval base in Groton.
One of the men charged in the shooting death of a 12-year-old girl in Providence is expected to be sentenced today.
We'll have details on those news stories and the rest of the day's news in a moment. We'll also check on the commute in light of all the snowfall accumulated some on the grassy surfaces, not so much on the highways. And we'll sort it all out for you and get you ready for this brand new day. Friday, November the 14th. The entire team is in place to help you out in that regard. Molly's got the traffic. Susie's out at a new salt pile in the northern part of the state. Kelly Love's here with the weather.
Barbara, Frank.
Thank you, Molly. Time now 6:34. Of course, the weather is the big news today. And on this first snow of the season, we wanted to give you a live look at conditions outside this morning.
Susie Steimel's in Lincoln at a facility that becomes very important when the snow falls. Good morning, Susie.
Good morning, Frank and Barbara. Well, if you at home were watching about 30 minutes ago during the last live shot here in Lincoln, you can see a huge difference in the snowfall. Kelly said this storm is moving out, and that's consistent with what we're seeing here. I'm not even seeing any snowflakes coming down, a tiny bit of misty drizzle, but for the most part, the snow has moved out of this region of Rhode Island, and we're happy to see the snow go on its way. And this is the newest tool that the state is rolling out. It just opened. It's this huge salt barn behind me, holds 10,000 tons of salt, and it was a tool that they used in preparation for the snow this morning. Crews have been out all night since before 11 o'clock treating the roads in anticipation of a little bit of snowfall, not a ton of accumulation that you're going to see while you're driving, particularly now as the storm is starting to dissipate. This cost $1.5 million to build, and it took tearing down 2 separate facilities in this area of Lincoln, one built in the 1940s, one built in the 1980s, to build this new facility in its place. Now, it's not creating any new jobs with this new facility. It's the same 17 people who worked at those other 2 locations will keep their jobs and work here, but the state Department of Transportation, those workers there are telling us this is a huge tool in efficiency. The drivers can go right into this building, load up, and go right back out on the roads. They say it saves a lot of time. They believe it will pay for itself over the next couple of snow seasons. We talked with road crews last night about preparing to treat the roads with this new tool this morning.
Overpasses, hills, and bridges. So those are the places where I think ice and snow will accumulate the fastest and the most, and so we ask motorists to be careful when you're transiting over a bridge or overpass or up a hill.
The good news is, as you can already see here, the snow is on its way out, but it won't be the last that we'll be talking about snow over the next couple of months, and the state says that this tool is really going to make a big difference in clearing the roads for the upcoming season. So take a little bit of extra time and precautions out there, but not a ton of trouble on the roadways from what we've seen so far. Live in Lincoln this morning, Susie Steimel, NBC 10 News.
Thank you, Susie. Other news now at 24 minutes before 7 o'clock. 2 Navy civilian police officers were injured during a shooting incident last night at the naval base in Groton. A spokesman says one of those officers fired warning shots after a person described as belligerent showed up with a knife outside the base and allegedly stabbed an officer in the leg around 7 last night. The other officer was injured by a ricochet of bullets. Both officers were taken to the hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries and have since been released. The suspect was not hurt, but was taken to the hospital for an evaluation. He's currently in the custody of the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Officials have not yet released his name.
A Nebraska medical center is about to receive its 3rd Ebola patient. This is the same facility that treated Providence native Ashoka Mukpo. The latest patient is reportedly a surgeon who is a Sierra Leone national and a permanent resident of the United States. He's reportedly married to a U.S. citizen. We don't know his name, but the doctor is expected to arrive this weekend from Sierra Leone. It is unclear if he was working in an Ebola treatment unit or some other type of hospital. One of the men charged in the shooting death of a 12-year-old girl in Providence last year is expected to be sentenced today. Angel Valerio is facing up to 13 years in prison for his role in the murder of Inez Vargas. Valerio and Luis Didi Gonzalez accepted a plea deal. Both agreed to testify at the trial of Luis Fat Boy Gonzalez. Brandon Castro, the man who pulled the trigger, pleaded guilty earlier this year and received 2 life sentences plus 50 years. Police say all 4 are members of the Harriet Street Gang. That shooting also injured 3 other women.
The lawyer for the fiancé of former Patriots player Aaron Hernandez wants prosecutors to turn over text messages in the case. One text from Hernandez allegedly told her in code to damage a video surveillance hard drive. Shayanna Jenkins' attorney He's also asked a judge to order prosecutors to turn over evidence that Jenkins threatened to report maids who cleaned the house to immigration authorities if they cooperated with police in the investigation. Hernandez has pleaded not guilty to the 2013 murder of Odin Lloyd. His trial is expected to begin next year. Jenkins has pleaded not guilty to perjury.
It looks like a bar on Federal Hill in Providence will not reopen anytime soon. The $3 bar on Atwills Avenue was the scene of a fatal beating back in July. It was then shut down by the Providence Board of Licenses, and an appeal was rejected by the State Department of Business Regulation. Officials say the staff at the bar had not reacted appropriately to an argument that eventually led to the fatal beating. Owner Gianfranco Morocco has now gone to the Superior Court to get that bar reopened.
Time now 21 minutes before 7 o'clock. In a moment, we'll explain why postal workers across the country are expected to stage a massive protest later today.
Also ahead, a landmark South Coast restaurant has finally reopened after a devastating fire.
And we'll talk about the Rhode Island man who became famous in the world of sports for an inspiring speech. Well, he's been nominated for a major award.
Closed captioning on NBC 10 is brought to you by Cardi's Furniture. Nairobi offers same-day mattress eye delivery 7 days a week.